Success of the movie Kashmir Files, filmmaker Vivek Agnihotri has announced his next film, The Delhi Files. The filmmaker shared his plans on social media and confirmed the same while speaking to Times Now. Vivek Agnihotri's next is expected to focus on the 1984 anti-Sikh riots and the Northeast Delhi violence in 2020 and much more. These are his exact words. After a raging controversy over the film, Kashmir Files, this time too, fireworks have begun even before the film is made and screened. The ecosystem that tried to bury the Kashmir truth, mock the film, suggests that it was a vehicle for propaganda, that to RSS, BJP propaganda, is once again slamming the filmmaker for making or proposing to make a film called The Delhi Files. This is not a new announcement, even though Mr. Agnihotri formally put out a still of the first image of the prospective film. This is what he said earlier, viewers. At that time, he didn't give away what the focus would be. Now he's confirmed to Times Now that it's going to be about 84, 2020 and more. The more is the intriguing aspect of it. Listen in.
सर आपने काश्मीर फाइल्स बनाई, आपने कश्मीर फाइल्स बनाई और कितने फाइल्स हैं?
इसके बाद मैं डेली फाइल्स बना रहा हूँ।
सर आप डेली फाइल्स बना रहे हैं? आप डेली फाइल्स बना रहे हैं?
जी हाँ, बना रहा हूँ। अब वो बताऊंगा जब आएगी बात।
Agnihotri wants to make a film on 84 riots. That's a welcome gesture. I think he should do it and do it very in a fair manner. There were 14 FIRs naming 49 BJP and RSS leaders, including Ramchandra Jain, Ram Kumar Gupta, Pritam Singh. All those facts should come out. That would be a fair movie.
दिल्ली कम्युनल राइट पे अपनी फिल्म बनाएंगे, उनसे मैं कहूँगा अगर आप ईमानदार आदमी हैं तो गुजरात के कम्युनल राइट पे भी एक फिल्म बनाइए और उसकी डिटेल्स अगर आपके पास ना हो तो मेरे पास है, मैं दे दूंगा।
अभी एक नया कुछ लोग कहानी लेकर जो मूल मुद्दे जनता के हैं, जिसमें महंगाई है, बेरोजगारी है, किसान के इशू है, गरीबी है, छोटे उद्योगों का प्रॉब्लम है, ये सब इशू पे चर्चा छोड़कर उसको डाइवर्ट करने के लिए इस तरह का एक मनोरंजन और धार्मिक तेड़ निर्माण करने का काम जो किया जाता है।
फिल्में बनाने से देश का भला क्या होगा? मैं उम्मीद करूंगा हो सकता है आने वाले दिनों के बाद वो गुजरात फाइल को भी शायद कोई फिल्म ऐसी कोई बनाए, लेकिन आज जो देश को जरूरत है, आज जिस जगह पर हम खड़े हैं वो है, इस वक्त अहम मुद्दे हैं नौजवान का रोजगार। मसला ये है कि विक्टिम है, पिछले 40 साल गुजर चुके हैं इनको। अगर सरकारों की नीयत ठीक थी, फिल्म बनाने की बजाय दोषियों के ऊपर कार्रवाई करनी चाहिए। आज मुझे बताइए, आज दिल्ली में दूसरी बार मोदी साहब गवर्नमेंट चला रहे हैं, अगर वाकया में वो ईमानदार हैं, अगर वो दिल्ली सरकार ईमानदार है, वो चाहती है हमने कुछ करना है, तो क्यों नहीं दोषियों के खिलाफ कार्रवाई करें?
Well, let's open this up, viewers. Let me bring in Dr. Ranganathan. Sushil Pandit also joins the broadcast. Dr. Ranganathan, we also have with us Lokesh Jindal. Dr. Ranganathan, did you hear the contempt in the voice of the Congress spokesperson? अगर आप ईमानदार हैं तो, as if the Kashmir Files is an abhorrent lie.
No, absolutely, Rahul, and let me tell you this, Delhi Files is going to be as painful to watch as the Kashmir Files was. Because the true story of the Sikh genocide has also been carefully hidden from us for more than 3 decades. And whoever has tried to talk about it, write about it, make a film on it, has suffered terribly. Till now, did you know, every film that has ever been made on 1984 Sikh genocide, Amu, 31st October, Cong de Hire, Sadda Haq, Hawaii, has either been heavily censored by the Congress or banned. The Delhi Files would meet the same fate. The saving grace is that by the time it releases, there will be no state left under the Congress, and so the film might be spared. But you never know. As Kashmir Files said, government unki hai, lekin system to hamara hai. So it might be banned after all. And it's not that the files don't exist. In fact, there is 100 times more documentary evidence here than there was in the Kashmiri Hindu genocide. More papers, more witness testimonies, more commission of inquiries. But what has been the outcome? On November 1, 1984, Rahul, a mob of 4,000 attacked Gurdwara Rakabganj. 2 Sikhs, father and son, were burnt alive. Mr. Suri, a journalist, witnessed the mob. He told the commission the mob was led by one man. That man, a few years ago, became the 18th Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh, Kamal Nath. Before this, He was the minister multiple times, and so was Jagdish Tytler. Both have never been convicted. It was Rajiv Gandhi who said that infamous diabolical phrase, when a big tree falls, the earth shakes. Well, the earth shook and consumed the bodies of more than 10,000 innocent Sikhs, men, women and children. But the thing with truth is, it has a way of surfacing. Recently in an interview to NDTV, Kamal Nath said, and I quote, Rajiv Gandhi did not send me to the Rakabganj Gurdwara, unquote. A few years later, in an interview to the Print, the same Kamal Nath said, Rajiv Gandhi actually did send me to the Rakabganj Gurdwara. In any civilized society, this itself should have prompted our judiciary to act, to reopen the probe, but nothing, zilch. After all, e incumbet probatio qui decet non qui neget. A man is innocent until proven guilty, isn't it? The same goes for Mr. Jagdish Tytler. He is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law, although the Nanavati Commission that looked into the anti-Sikh riot declared him guilty. You may not vote for him, you may not like to see him become a minister, but if you believe in the concept of justice, you cannot proclaim him guilty. Rahul, just 30 seconds. Unless the state sets up tens of separate courts and judicial mechanisms to hear cases that pertain only to riots, politicians, vandals, book burners and public servants, unless these cases are admitted, heard and disposed within 6 months to 1 year, we cannot hope for a better future for this country. Because wounds that are 20 or 30 or 40 years old never heal, Rahul, they fester. And like so many before it, Delhi Files also would be flapped shut and its laces tied and lobbed on top of a Godrej Almira in a High Court corridor.
But let me tell you, certainly not in the capital. Because Mr. Kejriwal, who ridiculed the Kashmir Files, has welcomed, at least his deputy chief minister, has welcomed with open arms Agnihotri's endeavor to make the Delhi Files. Now, one can understand what compulsion is forcing him to say that. But I just hope, therefore, that the Chief Minister of Delhi, so welcoming of this movie, will make it tax-free. I'm sure he will. I'm sure he will in larger public interest. Lokesh Jindal, that would be bad news for you. The keys to Delhi are now with Mr. Kejriwal. He'll probably make it a tax-free film. A large number of people will appear. But of course, you already discredited it. So I'm sure you won't be going to watch it. Mr.
Good evening,
Jindal.
Rao. There was something called commercial arts, but now we are living in an era of polarized commercial arts. A new genre of hatred has started emerging. Now, Mr. Agnihotri is trying to become a historian from being a dramatist or a producer or a director. Now, when we are talking about establishing a fact, it involves a lot of process, selection of sources, interpretation of sources, corroboration of sources. Only then facts are being established. But we all know that the censor board has not been duly doing its duty. It has not been performing its work. It has not been able to justify between what is a feature film, what is a documentary movie. I mean, any form of a feature film which simply states based upon true events. It tends to be as some form of a history, and accordingly the entire narration gets changed and people start believing a lie altogether. This government that we are living in, it is based upon a propaganda, promoting hatred, communalism, gaslighting, and all forms of a narcissist conception of, a new age altogether. Just 30 seconds more. Rahul, when we are talking about the Greek literature, it always talked about some form of a creation of a hero, for a hero needs a villain, and some form of a mechanism with which an idea is being given a lot of emotions to, so that it appeals to the audience at large. Now, that same form of a literary tactic is being applied by the present day government in order to reach out to the masses, because it has failed on the economic front, it has failed on the social front. In fact, on the economy, even today, World Bank is bringing down the ratings, and on the social front, we are performing worse than Pakistan, Bangladesh, but nowhere we are discussing all this. What we are discussing is distorted facts, distorted historical events that have occurred. We need an informed we need I would want learned people like Dr. Ranganathan to come up with their own expertise of research methodologies, research into what has taken place, come up with better theories and inform the masses.
Okay, since you named Dr. Ranganathan, he's raised his hand. Yes, you can respond, Dr. Ranganathan.
Yes, very quickly to my good friend Mr. Jindal. Can you tell me one instance that has been declared in Kashmir Files or depicted as fake? Just one.
Dr. Ranganathan, again, in the previous debate, I told you about the mixing up of correlation with causation. Now, the point is you are simply giving a narration of events without deriving the cause and effect relationship, the causation. So what happens is this narrow selection of events is convenient for some form of a picture to be created. But then you need to link it up with what was the cause factor that triggered it. That's an incomplete, a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. Either you present the entire picture or do not give some form of a distorted image to the masses. I am being a historian myself.
I asked you a specific question. You said the whole film was a fakery, just like this government is a fake.
It was a half-truth.
Half-truth. So tell us what half was lies. So tell us what half was lies, Mr. Jindal.
When there is a half-truth, there is half-lies.
Yeah, so what was the half-lie? Just 2 or 3 instances.
The half-lie, the half-truth was projecting some community as pure victims and some community as demons, oppressors, and monsters. Now, when we talk about this absolute truth, this entire extreme form of a narration, this itself is a lie.
Okay.
In the annals of history, literature...
So if in the Delhi Files, for instance, Rajiv Gandhi is portrayed as a person who says, जब एक भारी वृक्ष गिरता है तो धरती हिलती है, what part of that would have been a half-truth and what part of that would be a half-lie?
Let me tell you the exact context within which Rajiv Gandhi said this.
Oh, he said it in a larger context, is it?
And a quote. And exact quote.
Let's pull out that quote. We actually have it at hand. Let's pull out that quote.
Please
and that bite, we are going to play it, and then viewers, you make up your mind about half-truths and half-lies. Which part of the half-truth will you agree that, can I ask you, Sajjan Kumar was made a minister and now he's in jail, convicted for his role in the anti-Sikh riots, which is the half-truth. He was innocent when he was made a minister and he was guilty under a different government and therefore now in jail. Which was the half-truth and half-lie, Mr. Jindal?
Yes. See, when I'm talking about the complete truth, it is for the courts, it is for the judges to convict who is guilty.
So there was no moral obligation when a person is being tried.
Well, Rahul.
When a person is being tried, you see, viewers.
Nanavati has proclaimed Jagdish Titler guilty.
Yes.
Justice Nanavati.
Precisely.
Lokesh, do you believe in, you said, let's go to courts. Do you believe Justice Nanavati when he proclaimed Jagdish Titler guilty? Yes
Justice
or no?
Nanavati was the half lie and further down the road was the full truth for the Congress party. That's how Janus faced the party is becoming.
Let me reply.
No, I'm going to ask you a specific question.
Rahul, we are also
listen to Rajiv Gandhi. Let's listen to Rajiv Gandhi first. This is what he said. Let's play it out. Let's listen, viewers.
जब इंदिरा जी की हत्या हुई थी तो हमारे देश में कुछ दंगे फसाद हुए। हमें मालूम है कि भारत की जनता के दिल में कितना क्रोध आया, कितना गुस्सा आया और कुछ दिन के लिए लोगों को लगा कि भारत हिल रहा है। लेकिन जब भी कोई बड़ा पेड़ गिरता है तो धरती थोड़ी हिलती है।
Now, Mr. Pandit, which is a half-truth, which is a half-lie?
Allow me to.
Mr. Jindal wants to comment on this, but I must tell you, according to Mr. Jindal, 2.5-hour film cannot do justice with 32 years. So there should be a 32-year-long reality show running so that even if 1 second is lost, then it will turn into half-truth. So he must have a 32-year-long film running, like a reality show, so that even a moment, if lost, will not render it as half-truth. This is bizarre. It is ludicrous. He knows that in Delhi Files, there will be Yasin Maliks of Delhi, and there will be Bitta Karates of Delhi, and there will be Sayyid Ali Shah Gilanis of Delhi who will emerge under the Gandhi cap, emerge from the Lutyens' bungalows, emerge from the North Block and South Block to guide a pogrom. And he doesn't want those ghosts of 1984 to emerge and be visible. That is his problem.
That is his problem fundamentally. Tehseen Poonawalla, quick reaction, and I want to bring in Amit Malviya.
I welcome Vivek Agnihotri. He's making a movie and I wish him all the best. I have not heard on this show anyone condemning Parzania or even Fana or even India's daughters that spoke about rapes in India banned by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, or you, Rahul, stand up for your colleague in Times of India, who Narendra Modi as Chief Minister of Gujarat put a sedition case on for reporting on Gujarat riots. But we welcome this movie. The Jain Agarwal Commission had put out 14 FIRs. 14 FIRs were filed on their recommendation. 49 RSS members who were involved in the 1984 riots, including the polling agents of Atal Bihari Vajpayee, which is why I keep saying on your show, every riot RSS is involved, every riot. And I hope that those people are also featured, because this was a fact RSS was involved in riots. But there's one last fact that I want to correct you before I end. You showed out this clip of Rajiv Gandhi, and Mr. Jindal is right, have to, because you didn't show out the fact after that quote. After that quote, Mr. Rajiv Gandhi, Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi, martyr for this country, goes on to say, बड़ा पेड़ गिरता है तो धरती हिलती है, लेकिन हमें भारत को संभालना है, हमें एक साथ रहना है. We have to strive for peace and unity. The Sikhs are our brothers. He says it in that speech. What did Mr. Modi say in Gujarat?
Post facto, action reaction. Viewers, action reaction. Post facto अब हमें संभाल लेंगे. उस टाइम action reaction play out करने दो, कोई problem नहीं, क्योंकि बड़ा वृक्ष गिरता है और धरती हिलती है. There is no other context. The Congress party's own leader didn't go to an RSS Shaka. His name is Sajjan Kumar. He's in jail today for his role. For his role.
So was Maya Kodnani.
For his role in the anti-Sikh riots. We're not discussing the Gujarat riots. Don't worry. There are many films that you. No, 1 second. Listen, Tehseen Poonawalla. I can't help it if a film is being made on one riot and not the other. Why don't you make it? You're so close to all the Bollywood set. You're close to the Gandhis. Make the film. What's the big deal? You're half 1 foot in Bollywood in any case. What do you need? Encouragement. Make the film. Show the film. Who's stopping you? You're married to the truth. What's the problem? Let's go straight across. Let's go straight across to the BJP. Yes, Mr. Malviya, your response.
Okay, Rahul, I've heard everything that every panelist has said. Very quickly, about 10 years ago, something fundamentally changed the way India started communicating, and it was the advent of internet and, of course, social media platforms. That day onwards, not a single lie of the Congress party or the assorted opposition has held its ground. This entire boogie of the Gujarat riots that the Congress keeps talking about actually started by burning of the car sevaks and ended up horribly in those riots. They never talk about the car sevaks who were burnt alive, which really led to the conflagration. Now, having said that, there are several inconvenient truths in our country. They all have to do with the Congress party and its handling of the situation at that point in time. The 1984 Sikh genocide is a point in question here, which was actually sponsored by the Congress party, and they have remained remorseless about it. In fact, they have gone ahead and actively covered it.
But Mr. Malviya, there was a time. But Mr. Malviya, let me tell you, there was a time when you were in power. You had your own government, 6 years, and certain commissions there too were disregarded, and their reports were suppressed. So, look, this was.
No, I'm coming. I can answer that, Rahul. Just give me some time. The first government that we had for 6 years was a big coalition government, and we had limitations. despite the limitations, we made sure a lot of progress was made on these cases and people were exposed for their designs. We unfortunately lost power. But in the last 8 years that we've been there with Prime Minister Modi at the helm, a lot of historical wrongs are being set right.
Okay.
And this routine configuration that you see is a result because the establishment is losing its grip over the affairs of the country.
And they don't want the facts out. I get what you're saying. Quick one. Dr. Ranganathan, before I take a break, quick one. Yes.
Yes, very quickly. You see, this is the problem when we're talking of such a serious and such a terrible crime as a genocide. Politicians में तू मैं होती रहती है. Now, BJP has been in absolute majority for the last 8 years. Not a single Congress person has been convicted. And what Tehseen says, I would have believed him. In any case, the Agarwal annexures are missing and they are based on a HT paper cutout report. And if you believe, Tehseen, that RSS was implicated, then you had 21 years out of those 40 years.
I'll answer
Why
that.
did you
Thank you
not
for asking
indict
that. Let me
those
answer that
RSS
quickly.
people?
Let me quickly answer that.
Okay,
Those 49, quickly, just 1 second. Those 49 FIRs were shut by LK Advani. This is a fact and I'm ready to be sued if it's not.
Everyone let down the Sikh community. Let's hope that Mr. Agnihotri doesn't, and I'm sure he won't, like he didn't, the Kashmiri Hindu community. We're taking a very short break, viewers.